بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. Sister, you were saying something? You're trying to say something? No, he's recording.
Yeah, recording.
Yeah. So, first things first, my name is Yassir, born and raised in Sacramento, and I've been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to study some deen. And Imam Kashif had asked me to be here today. And the topic that I have for today's class is obviously Salah. And Salah, subhanallah. Well, before I continue, I would just like to acknowledge and appreciate what's going on over here, mashallah. This is absolutely amazing for us to have this kind of class where brothers and sisters are coming together and sitting in the house of Allah, right? Sitting in the musalla. It's absolutely amazing and beautiful. So, mashallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everyone behind the scenes, especially Brother Rashid here, and everyone that makes these kind of programs possible. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us for these efforts that we are putting forth, for us to learn something about this deen. And it's so beautiful for us to have it in such a setting. Like, to have this kind of setting is so beautiful because this is what the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would look like. If you imagine, you would walk in, you would have a group of brothers, a group of Muslims in this corner, and they're learning something from each other, right? And this is, keyword, learning from each other. I'm not here to lecture anybody. We're here to learn, to share a few points here. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses us in everything that we do. He allows us to become stronger Muslims, inshaAllah. And we are always making some kind of progress in one way or another. Because that is what a believer does, right? We're always making progress. Salah, subhanallah, it's such a beautiful thing, subhanallah. Little less than 45 minutes is subhanallah, it's like so vast the topic that we have in front of us. Is first and foremost, when it comes to salah, right? For us to understand how beautiful and how powerful salah is that when it came to every other injunction in Islam, right? Everything else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the angel Jibreel down to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and told him that this is the way it is. This is the way Allah wants it. Allah said this, don't do this, don't do that. Right? But just imagine, for salah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you may say, called Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the heavens to give him the gift of salah. Look at the magnitude of how beloved this action is. That you're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with humility, with all of these qualities that we're constantly trying to develop in our hearts, that like an act of worship, that instead of sending an angel down with his command and prescribing it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken on this journey, as we know as Isra and Mi'raj. And in bits and pieces you find the reference of this great journey that took place in the Quran. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi layla min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawlahu linuriyahu min ayatina. That Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi. Praise be to the one. Asra bi'abdihi layla min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa. Who sent his slave, who sent forth his slave on a journey from Masjid al-Haram, from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Masjid al-Aqsa. Right? And then from Masjid al-Aqsa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to gave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam such a status that us sitting here on planet Earth, we would not be able to understand. Wherever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him, He took him. The famous things that we learn from this journey of this being permissible, this not being permissible. But the focal point tonight actually, is salah. That this is the only injunction that you and I have in our lives as Muslims today, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam literally to the heavens and gave him this gift. And just to refresh our memories, initially it was 50 salah. I just had a student ask me today, right before I got here, a student asked me, why do we pray 5 times a day? I'm like, buddy, you're lucky you're praying 5, or you're supposed to be praying 5. And I broke it down that, originally it was 50. And then we know the famous incident between Musa ﷺ and Rasulullah ﷺ, that I know my people, just go back. It's not going to happen. All right, 45. Where are you going? Going back. 45? My people didn't even do 2, for example. Like go back. So back and forth 9 times until it was 5. So from 50, it was brought down to 5. But that's only when it comes to us offering the 5 prayers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still blesses us with the reward of 50 prayers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still blesses us with the reward of 50 prayers. That's like, it's absolutely amazing. Now think about this, right? Salah. This is the way I look at it, right? Because I know myself. I don't even have time to look at anyone else's problems. I have enough problems of my own as a human being, a weak, feeble, sinful human being. Think about it. And I think this, I share this with myself all the time that, normally when you get called out by Mr. President, right? Someone gets called, okay, you win the Super Bowl, so now the whole team got to fly out to DC and meet the president, right? That's an honor. Right? I'm not into sports, right? Really. But the point is that it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be called out to the Oval Office and to meet Mr. President for what? For whatever accomplishment that you have done, in your life. But let's think about that. That is the President of the United States. That is not Allah, right? And I would take it. I wouldn't believe that this is happening. Like Yassir, out of all people, in the Oval Office, that's crazy. But that is the president that we have in front of us, and we're saying, "Oh my God, this is such a big deal." But then let's along with this thought process, the King of Kings, the one who created everything and everyone, that knows everything that exists, the magnificent, the powerful, the loving, the caring, the one who has all of the qualities that we know and we don't know, is calling us 5 times a day. Just let that sink in for a second. Right? Calling me? What? Me, Yassir? To stand in front of him 5 times a day? That should humble us. Never in the history of mankind was any nation given 5 prayers in a day. You would find Prophet David, for example, his people had 1 salah, right? Or so-and-so prophet, 2, max 3, for example, right? But 5? This is an honor for us as Muslims. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us so much, loves the last ummah so much that He wants us to come to Him 5 times a day. And it's not okay, it's not like, okay, you're coming, 1 rak'ah and you're done. No, every salah has multiple rak'at, right? Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. You're prostrating over and over again. Look at the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That He's allowing us to be here. Like for example tonight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. And this is what we find in salah. Right? Salah teaches us to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As an educator, I always have to, you may say, rewire or rearrange perceptions of children. Right? I'll be honest. I ask a youngster that what happens if you miss your salah? Right? What happens if you miss your salah? Instead of giving an answer of, "Oh man, I missed out on so much reward and everything," there's that negative perspective that, I'm going to be thrown into the hellfire, like that. The negativity comes first, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't love us, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is out there to get us. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us, and this is what salah teaches us. What we find in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba Kiram, right? Practical Islam. Aisha radiallahu anha, the beloved wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she's been quoted to have said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the walking Quran. You want to see the Quran in action? And that's the man walking by, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let us look at how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would approach salah and how I do it. Like what is the difference here? And as a believer, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. I can't sit in a corner of the masjid, right, and just do my thing and be like, okay, I'm good. Right? Jannah Airlines, right in my pocket right here. I'm good. I got my boarding pass and everything. No. Speaking about Uthman radiallahu anhu in Hayward at a masjid, Uthman radiallahu anhu was a person who would weep when he would come across graveyards. And this is the people who has been told by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you do whatever you want after this, you're good. Coming back to the point here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he would treat salah, what role did salah play in his life? And let me ask myself, what role does it play in my life? And for me to grow towards that, for me to increase my faith, for me to become a better person through salah, we find in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that salah would be used as a tool whenever he would face a challenge. We find in the hadith that something as we find in the traditions that something as simple as a shoelace would break, and what he would do, resort to salah. Resort to salah. What do I do? If Payless still exists, I go to Payless, right? Or whatever, your preference, right? I'm not endorsed by anybody. But the point is, what do I do? Where's my yaqeen? Where's my conviction? When I face a problem, do I, pop 2 Tylenols, or do I pray to Allah first? Where's my conviction? Where is my conviction leading me? And for us to have that conviction in salah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give me this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make these things happen. And this is what salah is. Think about it. Recently, we had our solar eclipse. A few months ago now, right? What was the prescribed thing to do when you see the solar eclipse? Salah. So you have kids in schools, right, putting on those glasses and like, hey, look at it, right? But what does Islam teach us? What do we find in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That, okay, there's something going on, straight to the masjid. We find in narrations that salah, that prayer that he would offer because of that solar eclipse would be so long that if the salah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was long, then imagine how long it would be if it was described as long. Right? Like you're talking about hours here. You're talking about hours and hours. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting long chapters of the Quran in salah during the solar eclipse. And the same thing with the lunar eclipse. The wind would blow a little stronger than usual, straight to the masjid. There's a problem, there's no food in the house, okay, 2 rakats. Facing this challenge, okay, 2 rakats. Look at the reaction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a man, his speech was also referred to in the Quran as revelation. In Surah Al-Najm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, which means that this man doesn't even speak out of his own desires or out of his own whims. He just says whatever he wants. Even his speech was revelation, in a sense, if you categorize revelations in 2 ways. Not to get too technical here, but even his speech was divine. Think about how his actions were. Every time there would be a challenge, and let me ask myself here, I'm sitting in this chair right now, right? I'm living life. Everyone gets turbulence in life. Sometimes you have to buckle up if it's so bad. Right? Okay, buckle up. Okay, click. You got to hold on. It's turbulent right now. What am I doing in my life? Let me ask myself. Whenever I'm facing a challenge, if I'm going through any kind of difficulty, what do I do? Am I relying on myself as if I am going to get this out of myself? I'm smart enough or I'm intelligent enough that I'll wiggle my way out of this? Or am I submitting myself to Allah and asking Allah for help? And this is a personal experience that I'm sharing here tonight that I've been experiencing lately. Alhamdulillah, some things have been happening, and I've been having to I have to remind myself that, hey, Yassir, it's not you, it's Allah's doing it. Wallahi, I'm telling you, I haven't shared this with anybody, but we're brothers and sisters here, so I'm sharing this personal experience. A few days ago, things are happening, alhamdulillah. The devil makes you think, hey, Yassir, look at you, you're doing this, you're doing that. Hey, man, I ain't doing nothing. Yeah, I could fall into a trap that I've developed for myself and develop some kind of pride and say to myself, hey, Yassir, you're doing this. But no. Every time a huge, something like a big decision to be made or something huge is about to happen, 2 rakats. Wallahi, it humbles you. When you try your best, of course, the famous hadith, right? A Sahabi asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do I tie the camel and then, come in? Or you have to do your best. Lock the car and then rely on Allah. Right? Do your best. That, oh Allah, this is the best I could do. And then leave it to Allah. So obviously we're not to use this, as a scapegoat. Okay, you know what, whatever. But we have to try our best. But then pray 2 rakats and ask Allah for help. No matter what it is. And it's not limited to religious things. That is also worth mentioning, right? It's not only to, for example, oh Allah, I am unable to wake up for tahajjud. So here I am praying my 2 rakats so that I'm able to wake up for tahajjud. Oh Allah, I am weak in this aspect of my iman. Oh Allah, grant me strength in that. No, it's not only with religious things. It's applicable for anything in our lives. Obviously, it has to be halal. I'll share one incident that one of our teachers shared with us in class. He said that in South Africa, a Muslim brother calls. He said, a brother calls me, and he says, Sheikh, make dua for me. Okay, I'll make dua for you. Where you at? What's going on? Man, I'm over here, and I hope I'm successful. Make a lot of dua for me. I hope I make it. He's like, where you at? I'm at the casino. So man, get your priorities straight, man. Sheikh, I want to pull this thing. Make dua for me. And this Sheikh Salman Mullah, he said this. He flies out to IRS every year. So yeah, on a lighter note, our priorities have to be straight. We can't be asking for, things which are impermissible, because who are we trying to fool over here? You know what I mean? But as long as it's obviously permissible and it's not limited to only religious things, anything, a business decision, it could be anything related in our lives, how we are to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and assistance. We do our best, we tie the camel, and then we rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah teaches us the aspect of how we are to lead our lives in ways that I didn't realize until much later in my life. Okay, I'm not here to say, okay, no one else did or not, but here's here's what I've realized until recently. I didn't realize until recently, is Salah teaches us how to address life events. What I mean by that is you categorize them either good life events or bad life events. So how does Salah tie into this? If we look closely at positivity first, right? all the joyous occasions a Muslim comes across in his or her life. If you dig deep enough, you'll find salah deep down in there. For example, Eid. See, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us how to celebrate, how to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every moment of our lives, to discipline ourselves that no matter what happens, you're going on with your daily life 5 times a day. Oh, it's Eid? Okay, so to the masjid. Oh, second Eid? Oh, okay, back to the masjid. Think about that. On the day of Eid, you're praying 6 salah. We're being taught to be grateful and always to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in our joyous occasions, even when it's a joyous occasion. Eid al-Fitr, mashallah, you fasted for 30 days, you did all your ibadah. And before I continue, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from this upcoming Ramadan tremendously, inshallah. And we make dua for each other. Please make dua for me as well. I'll be that selfish guy and say, make dua for me, but we'll make dua for each other, inshallah. But see how salah shapes a person's mind. That it's a time of celebration. How do you celebrate? Do you celebrate by breaking the commands of Allah? Or what do you do? Run straight to the masjid, pray 2 rakats, and these are not ordinary 2 rakats. These are with 6 extra takbirat, at least. Right? According to Abu Hanifa, then you have Imam Malik of like 7, 8, 9, like takbeers over takbir over takbir. We know. Right? The Imam has to tell us, okay, you know what, hey, don't trip out, right? We have takbirs in the beginning of the prayer and also toward the end of the prayer. But it's teaching us, salah is teaching us to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every moment of our lives, in our daily lives and also during Eid. The second Eid, joyous occasion, Eid al-Adha, right? How do you celebrate Eid al-Adha? Sacrificing an animal, right? Following the footsteps of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Ibrahim and Ismail, right? فلما I'm forgetting the verse here. وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word aslama, it's so beautiful. Look at what the father and son, when they submitted. Father and son, Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, in that action of theirs, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam holding his son down, and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam saying, Pops, no problem. You do what you got to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word aslama. How they submitted. 2 people, how they submitted to the command of Allah. We are reminded of that sacrifice. We are reminded of salah. Again, Eid al-Adha, okay, run to the masjid, 2 rakats before you start your day. In fact, your udhiyya, your qurbani, your sacrifice won't even count until you pray your 2, Eid al-Adha. In South Africa, for example, remember, as soon as Ishraq would come in, they won't waste any time. They were like, okay, Ishraq is in yet? Okay, fine, Allahu Akbar. Start the Eid Salah so that you have the whole day on your side to get everything done. Now let's come towards the other side, the realities of life. What happens when a person passes away? Salatul Janazah is called Salatul Janazah. Of course, there's no bowing down, because we are not supposed to bow down to anyone or anything besides Allah. That's the symbolism behind standing there for salah, for Salatul Janazah, so that a third person may not get things mixed up here as if we're bowing down to some person. This is a great sheikh or this was a great sister. No, you stand where you are and you got to pray your salah. So again, in our daily lives, 5 times salah. When it's a joyous occasion, the 2 Eids, 3 Eids of the year, 2 rakats. Right. Then you have, on the flip side, the reality of life. Someone passes away, what happens? Salatul Janazah. It's a special prayer. So salah shapes our lives. It allows us to discipline ourselves in a way that no matter what happens, we never forget Allah. No matter what happens, we never forget Allah. Either it may be good, or unfortunately, it's something really difficult for us to go through right now. Don't forget Allah. Never to forget Allah. This is what salah teaches us. Subhanallah. It's amazing to learn that Sahaba Kiram used to gauge their lives based on their salah. Just think about that. They would, you would like, okay, someone would make a mistake. So instead of raising a finger and saying, okay, this and that, no. He would say, or she would say, okay, there's something wrong with my salah. And they would go and immediately try to fix that salah. Why? Because the Quran tells us, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, that salah stops you from fahsha and munkar. Fuhush, this Arabic term, fuhush, what it means is something which is evil, which is deemed evil by society. So that's the first possible way of defining something which is bad, that society deems it to be bad. And it's beautiful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings this aspect first when it comes to salah, preventing a person from such things. It's pointing towards self-respect and dignity of a person. That a Muslim is a person that doesn't even do something which is wrong according to society, let alone doing something wrong according to Allah. So fahsha, and then munkar. Munkar means something which is deemed evil by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Salah, like definitely salah stops a person. Tanha, it blocks a person, it prevents a person from fahsha and from munkar. Anything which is deemed evil by society, your salah is to block you from that. And also munkar, anything which is deemed evil by Islam, salah is supposed to block you from that. This reminds me of one incident in class. The Shaykh was talking about the virtues of Ayatul Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. The famous verse of the Quran that we recite to protect ourselves, etc. Shaykh was explaining the hadith that a person who recites this before going to sleep is safeguarded from all kinds of evil. And according to some narrations, besides death, this person is safe. So I remember clearly, to my right, one of our classmates, he raised his hand. Like, Sheikh, I have a question. Sheikh said, what's up? What's going on? So he said that, Sheikh, I recite Ayatul Kursi, I recite this verse before I go to bed, but I still have nightmares. Like, what's going on? So the Shaykh said that with conviction, you could see it, you could see it in his eyes and like the way he delivered the answer. He said that, my son, what you are reciting is not Ayatul Kursi, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to never lie. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is the truth and nothing but the truth. So what you are reciting is not Ayatul Kursi, because if you were, then you would not have these nightmares. He told him in front of everybody that, correct, there's some mistake you're making, or there's something wrong in the picture here, because it's just not possible that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says something and then it's not proven to be true. It jeopardizes everything in Islam. Similarly, when it comes to this quality of salah, that this salah is supposed to stop me from evil. All kinds of evil. I need to ask myself. Because the Quran doesn't lie. See, our belief is that every letter of the Quran is true. The Quran is the way it is since it was revealed, and it will be the way it will be until the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken upon Himself to preserve the Quran. So the Quran cannot lie. The Quran is the truth, no doubt about it. But then when I reflect on my own life, and I say to myself, like, Yassir, like what's going on? Like, you're dropping the ball here. Like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? So I need to tell myself that, you know what? It's your salah. Because the Quran tells us, salah stops you from that. And if I find something in my life, which is something that is not according to society, or it's not according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, then I got some work to do. I got some work to do. And this is like, subhanallah, like salah. We find all of these things in salah. The fact that we're able to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talk to Him. The fact that we are allowed. Let's talk about that, right? For us to be allowed to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to pray to Him is such a beautiful thing. It's such an amazing thing. It shows how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions revelation in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses or refers to one of His four amazing qualities. One is Aziz, Hakim, Alim, and Rahim. We obviously don't have the time to go through all four of them, but I'll just talk about Rahim for a few moments. Is this Quran being revealed by the one who is all merciful. Regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, there's a hadith that mentions that if a person, if it was possible to divide Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy in 100 parts, 1%, 1 part of the mercy and love of Allah is what you and I see today in this world. All the love and the mercy that exists in the world today amongst human beings, a mother has for her child, a father has for his child, let alone human beings, animals that have love and mercy, right, for each other, is 1% that exists in this world. And the hadith mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept back 99% for the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. Shaitan will try his best. The devil, mal'oon, will try his best to become despondent in the mercy and love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will try all kinds of things. So much so that under one of the verses of the Quran, scholars mention that it is haram, it is impermissible to have an ill assumption of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's impermissible. There's no place for it in Islam. So what I'm getting to over here is with how should we offer our salah? I referred to this point briefly in the beginning. Is so many times when I ask students, they say, "Oh, I'm praying salah so that I don't go into Jahannam." As if the belief is that, okay, as soon as I miss my salah, I'll be thrown into the hellfire. Right? This is a wrong perception. It becomes my responsibility to teach them that, you know what, we should pray out of love for Allah, out of appreciation for Allah. And this is amongst the various things we shared tonight, this is one thing that we should also bear in mind, is that we should look forward to offer our salah out of love, out of gratitude that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about His bounties and whatever He has blessed us with in the Quran, and He says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أَقْلَامٍ وَالْبَحْرُ يَمُدُّهُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ سَبْعَةُ أَبْحُرٍ مَا نَفِدَتْ كَلِمَاتُ اللَّهِ. If you were to take all the trees from this world, right, from planet Earth, and you were to turn all those trees into pens, and you take the 7 oceans and you turn all of them into ink, and on top of that you bring in 7 more oceans of ink, the praise, the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not come to an end. All the trees in existence right now on this earth could come to an end, could be depleted. 14 oceans of water could be turned into ink, and that ink could run dry. But the praise of Allah, the love of Allah, the qualities of Allah, you start to write, it's not gonna, all pens will break, all ink will go dry. But our Allah is unlimited. How could a limited being try to encompass or try to fathom a limitless being? If you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating time. It's a trip. Like what? Like, okay, wow. Like Allah created time. So what was there before time? This question itself is like pretty much invalid because you're asking before, which requires time, right? So just leave it alone. Just don't even mess with taqdeer. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, don't mess with taqdeer. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. And the way I should be offering my salah shouldn't be out of this, just to have so much fear that I'm praying, like Al-Yazu Billah, implying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is out there to get me. That, okay, I better pray the salah before I get thrown into Jahannam. No. We should offer our salah out of love, out of appreciation. We should constantly look forward to salah. We have less than half an hour left for Isha. We should look forward to Isha salah. And then look forward to Fajr. And then look forward to Zuhr. This is the way our salah is meant to be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our conditions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how busy we are, how many responsibilities we have. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take no for an answer. It don't matter where you are. If it's time for Zuhr, you gotta pray. It don't matter if your co-workers look at you all weird when you're washing your feet, if you're washing your feet, right? You're not making masjid, right? It don't matter where you are. Zuhr is Zuhr. It don't matter what time you slept that night. Fajr is Fajr. What's the message here? For us to discipline ourselves. One last point is, yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
No.
One last point is salah disciplines us and allows us to remain in a pure state. Think about it, right? A lot of us may not think about it, but every time you would have to relieve yourself, every time, like any kind of human nature, right? Any taqaza, any kind of need a person fulfills, you're making sure that you're pure. Because what? Because salah is a half an hour or an hour or 2 hours, right? Constantly remaining in a state of purity, which is resembling the quality of the angels of remaining pure. Salah allows us to, Allah forbid what happens if I don't have salah in my life. Think about it. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't make sure that I'm in a pure state at all times, because I wouldn't have salah. I wouldn't have any consideration for salah. So that is what salah does to us as well. It shapes our minds in a way that we're constantly in a state of purity. at least not in a major state of impurity. Right? Then okay, fine, we're able to make wudu, it's fine. That nothing else is required for us to offer our salah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to bring whatever that was said into our lives, including myself. Right? Because I needed myself as well. Right? It's not, as I stated earlier, that this is not, wallahi, this is not meant to be some kind of thing. I'm a human being, right? Everyone has challenges, problems in life. I will share this one thing, just to put myself back in my spot. Right, is one of our teachers mentioned he taught in Mecca for 25 years. Right? Such a man, and he's been teaching for 40 plus years of his life. All of his children are scholars, mashallah. He mentioned an amazing incident, and he said that this is a lesson for all of us, especially for myself. He said that there was this one student of his, and not his, he's narrating a story, that there was this sheikh, a great scholar, who had a student. And this student sees an old man walking back into the village with his donkey or mule or whatever, right? So this student is asking his sheikh, "Oh sheikh, I know Arabic, I know Nahu, I know Sarf, I know Tafsir, all of these fancy names, right? I know how to do this, I know how to do that. I have this knowledge, I have that knowledge, right? Typical student, right? I know all this, right?" So he asked this question to his teacher, like, "Oh sheikh, I know for a fact this old man don't know nothing, right? He can't even read the Quran. He don't know anything. Is it, could I say I'm better than this guy?" So the sheikh said, "My son, yeah, you could argue that you may know more than the guy, but you can't say you're better than the guy. You can't say you're better, because only Allah can judge. Only Allah can judge, right? So just because I was, only Allah knows the reason why. Like, if Allah gave me the opportunity to study a little bit of Deen, doesn't make me better than anybody, right? I also have to work on my salah. All of us have to work on our salah. Right? So whatever that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed me to say that was good, is obviously from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever that I said that was wrong or bad is from shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us and unite us in Jannah the way He has united us here. And on a final note, subhanAllah, this is an amazing class. Right? I make dua from the bottom of my heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows this class to continue and for it to grow, and other masajid that unfortunately haven't been able to start this kind of class as well, because when it comes to folks that are accepting Islam, unfortunately there aren't enough resources for them, and I make dua for you, and I make dua that the angels that are surrounding us right now make dua for you as well. And whenever you pray, please make dua for me as well. My name is Yassir. And jazakumullah khairan. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdihi, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Any questions?
Do you guys have one? I have one quick question. As far as like the conditions of salah, last week we talked about wudu, and I believe another point is like having, I want to say, mental clarity or focus, khushu, in salah. So what advice might you have for people who just starting to pray, and even those who've been Muslim for a while, to get that concentration in salah, things they can do maybe before the salah starts that'll help them be focused?
This question was asked a lot in our school. I remember this one student, he would ask the same question every year to the same teacher over and over again. And I remember the response. Simple answer is wudu. The better our wudu, the better our salah will be. And this is you could say from experience as well, right? The closer our wudu is to the wudu of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the more khushu we're able to develop. For the number one reason is because simple thing is when we make wudu, we may not realize how much water we may use. Right? And when it comes to how much water Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would use, he would use, like I would say, half a water bottle right there. Just enough water just to make wudu. So for us to develop more khushu in our salah, we would need to work on our wudu more, inshallah. And what else we could do is like the things that we learn in salah is, okay, looking down, we're supposed to look at the place of your sujood and look towards your toes but you go into the ruku. These are things that are mentioned for us to develop khushu so that we don't get distracted. Looking around does not break your salah, but it is definitely against your khushu. It you may say evaporates whatever khushu that we have developed in our salah. So I would say it starts with your wudu. Our wudu has to be of the highest standard as much as possible. Using less water and come up with ways to like pray in an area where we're not going to have kids running around. Because salah is you may say like as a meeting time, right? You're not going to allow anything to happen. Turn your phone off, making sure there's no kids running around to the best of our abilities, right? If you're at a workplace or whatever, it doesn't nullify your salah, but we ought to try our best to make sure that we do whatever we can. One last thing before I take the next question is the symbolism in salah. If we pay attention to the physical attributes of salah, when we are saying Allahu Akbar, the symbolism behind that is that by raising your hands, ulama mentioned in books, is that you're throwing your world behind you by saying Allahu Akbar. That it don't matter, I'm at work, I just hopped off the train or whatever. Right now, Allah is the greatest. And just throwing the world behind you and you're standing right there in front of Allah. Right? And then the ruku and sujood, like the symbolism, if we pay more attention to the symbolism behind each physical attribute of salah, and then for us to, inshallah ta'ala, pay attention to what we are reciting in salah. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. For us to understand the magnitude of what we're saying. Subhana Rabbiyal A'la in our sajda. To understand the magnitude of what we are saying while we are in sajda. The closest we are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These things, inshallah ta'ala, altogether will increase our khushu, inshallah. Yes, sir. As far as touching a dog, I don't recall that touching a dog breaks your wudu. The issue with the dog is the saliva, right? And it's a pig that if we touch, it breaks your wudu, like because of how haram it is, right? Or how impure it is. But obviously you're not going to go petting a little chihuahua like, okay, I'm going to start my salah. But it's the saliva that we're avoiding here. And okay, even the saliva, it would make your, for example, your fingers, licking your fingers and stuff. The saliva would be impure, so it would make your hands impure, which will prevent you from offering salah. If you wash your hands off, your salah would be valid because it's not breaking your wudu. You're not doing something which is breaking your wudu. It's just that you're bringing something impure onto your body, which would prevent your salah from being accepted. If you know what I mean. Yeah. So touching a dog would not break your wudu.